Hello, Devlin here, and welcome to another edition of my pirate radio show. I'm very excited. I have a co-host with me, and I know some of you are saying, what? Two co-hosts back to back? I know I don't usually do that because I like to talk a lot, and so I usually have a couple of episodes without, but I had an opportunity to get someone, and I wanted it to happen, so you'll understand when you see who's here. Because he's been here before. He came in a couple of... I was going to say years. He was in here last year, and he was just about to embark on an adventure, and we said it would be great to have him back, but, you know, talk happens, schedules happens, and finally we made it happen, and I can't wait to talk to him. He's just charming as ever. He's gorgeous. I can't say enough about that. So, here he is, my co-host tonight, Andre Guantanamo. Am I still saying it right?
Still saying it wrong.
Am I saying it wrong?
Thank you for the warm introduction, anyways.
All right. Well,
I think you got the most salient bits of my character.
Did I? What? Charming and sexy?
Yeah, those are more important than pronunciation of my name.
You should just go by Andre anyhow.
Yeah,
just one name.
A mononym?
Yeah.
Like Prince?
That would be good. Like Madonna, Prince.
Yeah. I think, you know what, it's all the attitude. I think I can pull that off.
Is it bad that I'm putting ideas in your head? Now, how do you say your name? I thought I was saying it right.
I think you just dropped the first N. You said Guantanamo. It's Guantanamo.
Guantanamo.
Like the bay.
It is.
Yeah.
But I don't use Guantanamo Bay a lot.
No.
So my apologies for you.
No, that's okay. Some people block the memory out of their heads of that place.
Can I blame it on looking at your beautiful smile and I just lost...
I don't presume to tell you what to blame things. I mean, that's you have total autonomy for where you lay blame.
First of all, before we start, get to know you, and we'll talk about all your adventures, but we're going to find out what you've been doing lately before we get to your adventures.
Absolutely.
First, I want to say that you did something, and I like to call things out because I think we don't tell people stuff enough.
Uh-oh.
And no, I'm going to tell you what I really think about you right now.
You need a list of shit you said online.
No, basically. No, when this happened, we talked about getting together, and I didn't follow up all the time, and we talked, and it just didn't happen. And then you're getting ready to go on another adventure, and you actually wrote me and said, Are you still interested in doing this? And I was actually really touched by that. The reason why is because we get so wrapped up in our lives, and we get so busy, and basically, I think. A lot of times it's a series of excuses, but the fact that I know you're a really busy guy, like I follow you on Facebook, and you're always at premieres and doing movies and hiking, and God only knows what you get up to, and the fact that you actually, you knew you were leaving soon, and the fact that you contacted me and said, I could understand if I was a nationwide program, but the fact that I was touched. I was actually very moved, and I said, we're doing this,
Well, I'm flattered that my call meant that much. But yeah, when I got started in the process of planning my departure, there were loose ends I wanted to wrap up and take care of, and I hadn't forgotten our earlier conversation. But like you said, life just sort of happened, and so I knew that on top of, filling out a few project obligations that I have, I wanted to touch base with you and see if we could make it happen in the last few weeks.
Well, yeah, I can't talk about it too much. I literally will cry. I'm at that stage in my life. I've always been sensitive. No, you don't know how much it touched me. So what is Andre up to now? What has we'll talk about your being back in Hamilton in the area first, and then we'll talk about your adventure. Because for those of you who don't remember, you can look it up. I don't remember what number it was, but it was early on. Andre decided last year he did not want to be part of the snow and cold, and just decided to pack up a little bit of things, we're talking minimal, and I believe a skateboard was involved as well.
Initially, in the initial plan, yeah, that evolved. But I ended up walking and hitchhiking.
Yeah, so, and you were you could follow you on Facebook.
Well, that's the thing is, I was calling it the project. I was shooting a film down there. I called it Just Might Be Okay, and I made my way through Mexico, South Texas, Mexico, Central America, all the way to Ecuador, and into the Amazon where I did ayahuasca. And on the way back, I stopped in Nicaragua again, and I found this beautiful place there, this eco-village, which I just fell in love with when I passed through it, so I decided to spend my last month there. But yeah, along the way, people were really supportive of the online presence and all the pictures, and I made a point on Instagram whenever somebody picked me up and or helped me in any way, I would post about that, because just to show how this irrational xenophobia and fear of strangers that we have, when it's strangers who helped me out the most along the way. So it was really, for me, it was probably the greatest thing I ever done.
I loved seeing it because you would constantly, like, you'd name drop people and you'd look like you were like with these people and having a great time. And I always reminded myself he probably just met these people and they were like reaching out to them. And I thought that was wonderful.
Yeah, there was definitely a few occasions like that where and I have a first edit of the film done. It won't be done before I take off, but it's actually my buddy John Miliori from Survival Zombie Films. He's been editing it, and we meet up together and we work on it together, basically. So it's about teeing up our schedules. And I was really happy with a lot of the footage. As my first time departure making my own film, I see things I got to improve upon this next time, as I'm leaving in a few weeks.
Right.
But it was certainly a cool way to cut my teeth as far as making my own film.
Now, are you going to continue the filming with the stuff you're doing now, or?
Yes, yeah. I'll tell you a bit more about kind of where I'm going for this next time around. But first, what I will say is that I will be taking the same camera with me, GoPro Hero 4, and shooting another travel adventure documentary. But my concept right from the beginning, when I first planned this 2 years ago, when I first planned the last trip 2 years ago, was I want to do something like a 24/7 travel documentary. Exactly that, not something like that. Which is like, I would love a 24/7 live stream that people could just tune in and see what I'm up to.
That would be amazing.
But, realistically, the costs and technology and associated with that are just a little prohibitive for a filmmaker working on by themselves. That said, the largest investment I've made technologically or electronics-wise and equipment-wise has been a new phone, because what I can do with that, with the greater battery life, and I'll buy SIM cards along the way, is I can keep updating through Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook posts, Twitter, and stuff like that. So people will, it may not be a 24/7 thing, but it'll be constantly updating. And I want to really show people what life on the road is like this time around.
Excellent. Now, we'll jump right into the adventure because I'm already excited about it. The one you did last year. Now,
yes,
you had, I remember you talked about it. You were so committed to it.
Yeah.
Was there any point early on that you were like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into? Any moment at that that you care to admit?
In the first few days when I was in the south of Texas, I spent a few days longer in Texas than I had intended to, simply because I was terrified to go into Mexico. Because all along the way, whether it was at customs at Pearson Airport, like the American customs guy asking me where I was going, and I said Mexico, and he put the fear of God in me, saying, "Don't go there, man. They'll kill you. They'll cut your fucking head off. What are you doing?"
Are you serious?
Yeah, and he's like, "Why are you going there?" I'm just like, I just had a teary goodbye with my dad, and I was already a little bit emotionally frail, and he just said that. I'm like, thank you for that. So I went to Texas. I spent a few days down there, hitchhiked with some people, met some people, took a lot of different advice to which border crossing I should go through to avoid getting decapitated. And ultimately, I met some crazy people in those first few days too. I met just a bunch of hippies who were traveling to the Gulf of Mexico in their van to build a ship and sail across the Atlantic.
They were going to build a ship?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's still a bit of a work in progress.
It's nice to see people still have dreams.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the more out there the dream is, the more by default I have greater respect for it. I checked with one truck driver as well who was a part-time coyote, bringing people bringing Mexicans across the border.
Is that what coyotes are called?
Yeah, coyote is like the term for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, when you said part-time coyote, I said, well, was he like a werewolf? I just wanted to be.
But just some really cool people along the way. And then when I finally crossed into Mexico, what I did is I took a bus from McAllen, Texas, into Zacatecas, which is well into the interior, because I wagered that getting through the border region was probably the most dangerous part, right? So I took a bus through that overnight, and I was right. Once I got into the interior of the country, I had an amazing time. Everybody was amazing. The food was phenomenal. Yeah. I had a great time. There were some adjustments. Until you get into the cities, coffee is not really a priority in Mexican life. When they do have it, it's Nescafe powder.
Okay.
So it's very discouraging when I couldn't find coffee anywhere. I love my coffee. So
no gourmet coffee shops on every block in Mexico?
When I finally got to Mexico City, let me tell you, I had some of the best coffee in the world. But yeah, I had to really search for it.
So are you ready to deal with that again when you?
Well,
you're going to pack little packages of coffee with you?
Well, I will be starting in the States this time around, and I will be spending at least the next couple of months in there. I'm going to be flying down to New Mexico, which is probably where I'll start the trip there. I feel like there's a lot of important work spiritually for me to do in the desert, but also I do want to travel around and see as much of the States as I can. I think it's a very interesting time in history, in the United States.
Yeah.
Not just because of the election, but also racial tensions, a lot. It's like you have all these problems that we see in the news juxtapose the backdrop of what is ostensibly the greatest country in the world, right? And there's so much I love about America and American culture. I love the sort of milieu of, kind of what the immigrants brought over, but also there's something ancestral about it as well. And my wardrobe this time around is really a culmination of what to me are the two most ubiquitous archetypes in American culture, which are the cowboy and the soldier. And they're kind of at two different ends for me. They kind of represent two different things. I mean, to me, the cowboy is the frontiersman, there's a lot of freedom, whereas the soldier is sort of the guardian of the status quo. He represents, following the rules and obedience. And, I mean, for me, I spent my time as a soldier, 10 years, but I really, truly am, consider myself more of a cowboy in this regard, simply because I like my freedom.
And this is your look, kind of, because you came in with a cowboy hat. Or... I like this. Don't get me wrong, this is hot as hell.
You know what I'll do? Thank you very much. Yeah. What I will do is I'll send you a picture of me in my kind of wardrobe. It's just about, probably, I would say 95% done, but there's still a few accents I'm adding, which are
I'd love
really
it.
Make it representative of me. But you'll see.
You'll see the picture on YouTube. Well, the one with me together. Yeah, no, this is an awesome. I wish I could look like this. I wouldn't look that good. Well, I always joke that I think the future is going to be more Mad Max than Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to be more... Like, I know people, it's nicer to think optimistically and hopeful, but I honestly see Mad Max world more than Star Trek, and I'm picturing you're like almost dressed, ready for it. I'm already want to be on your car. Yeah. Play your guitar, even though I don't know how to play.
We'd rule the wasteland. Yeah. But it's funny you say Mad Max, because I loved the last Mad Max. Fury Road. It was phenomenal. And it's funny you say that that's what we're heading towards, because I think it's a weird sort of allegory for the world we live in today. What I love about the film is it gets you right into it. You know what's happening. There's no complicated build-up or explanations. You know what's going on.
Yeah.
You're into it. But if you watch it multiple times, as I have, and you watch it with a discerning eye, and you look for the things that I tend to look for in films, there's a lot that's going on there that's, if you're not attuned to it, you'll miss it, right? And there's such there's more obvious things, but even the subtle things, like when right at the beginning, when the antagonist Morton Joe is running through his castle after his wives have been taken, you see all this hydroponic and aeroponic plants, and he's like growing. He's using like what are essentially current but cutting edge sort of means of growing agriculture, in which could be a way to feed people in very sort of times of scarcity and stuff. And it's just, if you don't really think about it, you kind of glaze over that. But I thought that was a cool sort of addition, and I like that they added things like that throughout the film. Yeah,
just little nuances that. Well, it's good that you caught it. You must have been a real big fan of the film.
I loved it. Especially, it's funny, the characters of the War Boys, you have a fighting force that's so enamored and so, with none of the idea of glory and dying heroically or dying with honor, but also, hopelessly in love with and desirous of the validation of their leader, right? And so, it's a loose allegory for fighting forces today, and the people who again are guardians of the status quo, who will do anything to preserve the status quo, and also their highest aspiration is an honorable death. And I related to those guys simply because I don't seek death out. I'm certainly on some level trying to become accustomed to my own mortality and just trying to be accepting of my death, because I think that's the key to living a better life, is knowing how you want to die, and that dictates how you live your life. But I certainly know when I was younger, especially during the barrel going to Afghanistan, I would, tell myself and delude myself realistically about, the merits of dying with honor, and I really held that in high esteem. And I see how young guys are still fooled into thinking that there's some honor in death.
Very deep.
You can tell me to shut up anytime.
No, I could sit here and listen to you all day.
Well, thank you.
So let's go back to Mexico.
Yes.
It was beautiful time. Do you find that people are genuinely similar once you sit down and get to know them?
Yes,
like
absolutely.
You have your quirky people in Hamilton, you have your quirky people in Mexico.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, anywhere I go in the world, it's always the cities where I feel, mind you, every city's different a little bit, but it's always the cities where nobody really gives a shit about you. So once you get in the countryside, people are a lot friendlier and nicer. Border regions, wherever you go, are more or less wretched hives of scum and villainy. But yeah, I love being on the countryside. Typically, the scenery is better there, the fresh air, and people are a lot more open to helping you out. Where basically you could be dying on the street in the city, and in a lot of places people just walk by.
Yeah.
I think that's a function of, absence makes the heart grow fonder. When you're so surrounded by people and inundated by people, you just stop giving a shit. But it's when, people are spread out further and people have their own space, we really can appreciate each other more. And so I tend to focus on the countryside. I'm very wary of going into cities.
Okay.
I'm selective about it, and I go into cities strategically. I don't like arriving in a city at nighttime, for example. I like to arrive in the morning or sometime middle of the day, so I can either plan what I want to do in the city and stay there or escape.
Now, where did you stay in places like this?
I camped out a lot. I slept in construction sites and abandoned buildings. I actually got some great footage of, it wasn't a typical sort of building that I squatted in. It was actually, for me, a palace. But I got some footage of, kind of things I look for, things that I think are important to take into consideration when you're squatting. And, just some really kind of cool places, which...
Did you have a sleeping bag with you, or...?
Yeah, I had sleeping gear.
Okay.
I packed very light, and even then I had to ditch a few things initially because I realized that I had too much stuff, right?
Now, I want to know what light is, because when I go for a weekend at friends, I have everything. I'm ready for anything possible. So I don't know what the term packing light is, so I want to kind of be
clothing-wise.
Okay.
I had an extra wife beater.
Okay.
So I had pants.
I've seen him in his wife beater. He has to have that. It's important.
Yeah, so I had 2 changes of that. I had 1 pair of pants that I wore all the time, 1 pair of shoes that I wore all the time, no socks and toe shoes, the Vibram 5 Fingers.
Did you not have socks even if you needed them?
No, I didn't wear socks.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think emergency socks might be...
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But
I'm trying to think. I can't automatically think of where you automatically emergency need socks, but I can tell there's places where I probably would want a socks. Yeah. And I don't like wearing socks.
Socks are like towels, and it's always good to have one just in case, But, and then, I had a couple bandanas, obviously, because you gotta have them. And then a poncho and a sombrero. And I had my custom rig that I made that was full of pouches and stuff like that. You're basically using a military vest platform. But yeah, for me that was light. And did
you wear fatigues? Because you're wearing pants with
I had tactical...
Is fatigues the wrong word here?
No, it's the correct word. It's more of an American word. But yeah, I know what you mean. The pants I wore were tactical pants, but they were khaki. They weren't camo. This time I wanted to avoid camo because of the places I was heading. I was worried about how it might be perceived.
Okay. Yeah.
But at the same time too, this time around, because I'm really kind of going for that sort of culmination in cowboy and soldier, I think the camo works well for that. But I'm also bringing the same tactical pants as before for when I enter sort of Latin American countries. Some of them you're not allowed to wear camouflage at all, so it's good to know.
Okay, so that was your clothes. What did you bring? Well, you said sleep gear.
Yeah, I had basically the poncho I acquired a few days in. I ended up using that as my sleeping mat, and then I had basically a Gore-Tex outer shell for a sleeping bag. And I just slept in that with I had a flannel shirt on as well, and that was it. And it was very cold in the desert because getting rid of the air mattress, I had no barrier between me and the ground. But ultimately, it toughened me up a little bit. There was a couple cold and chilly nights, but at the end of the day, I think it toughens you up and it allowed me to carry a lot less.
Wow.
This time around, though, I'm bringing a big backpack, so I'm not gonna be wanting for stuff like that. In fact, not only am I bringing an air mattress, I'm also bringing a hammock as well. Because my ultimate destination, I'll be making very good use of that hammock. Oh,
very cool. Yeah, so at least this time you kind of know what you're looking for and you know what you need.
Yeah, and if you think about it, last time I planned what I wanted to carry when I was still thinking of skateboarding, so minimalism was the key, right? This time I have no illusions about skateboarding or biking. So
what happened to the skateboard? Did it not go with you?
I'm actually bringing a skateboard with me, a little penny board that's actually strapped to my backpack.
Okay, but the first time it didn't go with you?
No, I didn't take one at all.
Okay. Because it was in the initial plan, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this time around, the skateboard, I may use it if I'm in a city. I may not use it at all, right? But I'll have it. It's better to have it and not need it.
Yeah, no. Those quick getaways.
One thing I'm being very conscious about in this trip is because of the way I look. I've traveled through the States on a bus before, and whenever I wear pants like this, people always stopped and asked me if I was a veteran, which, I am. I explained on Canadian military. But they have a very strong, supportive veterans culture there. People, it's a big thing what I do is when I'm on the road, I try to get people to open up to me. by making myself vulnerable, putting myself out there. And that I can do. I can make that commitment to being vulnerable, but at the same time too, it's how do I soften the way I look or make people be vulnerable to me as well. And so I've really been experimenting that with my training about how I look and the way I dress. That cowboy hat helps, the jewelry helps. The bongos I'm carrying now too are great because music I realized very recently is like a universal key that opens everybody up, right? So people, when I train with the bongos and I'm playing them as I walk, people just approach me, talk to me, and it's great. And I'm counting on that when I travel to the States as well. But wearing camouflage and presenting outwardly the appearance of a veteran, I'm banking on it. We'll see how it pans out. People stopping and being more open to me because they had a son or a brother or a nephew who's in the military. And so we'll see what happens. I'm expecting to be very successful in hitchhiking this time around. More so than in previous excursions.
The last one didn't go so well with the hitchhiking?
It was a bit tougher. I certainly got rides in Mexico and stuff, but there was a lot of days where I got nothing. And, you know, that's fine. It is what it is, right? I mean, time by yourself is, you know, excellent time still. But
Any alluring women who picked you up that were like...
Not that picked me up. Oh, man.
It's lucky I don't drive.
Actually, now that you mentioned it, I only really got rides from couples or guys by themselves, right? Last time around. When I was traveling in Europe, I got rides from women a few times. I guess it's just a different culture of hitchhiking there, right?
Yeah, it seems like it.
But yeah, no sort of highway hijinks though. Well, there's.
You gotta see. I'm the kind of person who likes to think that, so I'm gonna just keep that thing. Well, I can imagine, like you see a guy like before. I'm not, you know, I like to flirt with you. You're a good-looking guy. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, if I was a woman driving down, I'd be like, oh my Lord. But they might also think, oh, he might be too much for me.
I think the problem with my look last time was that with the sombrero and the poncho, I was sitting in this cafe with these guys after I just acquired the sombrero. Because my outfit was kind of an evolving thing last time, but it ended up being really kind of cool. I really liked
Sorry,
it.
Just picturing the sombrero. I think I've seen pictures of it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you know, I'll send you some if you haven't seen them. But one guy said, you look like a mentally ill homeless person who smoked too much marijuana. And I'm like, you don't say.
Well, I don't think that was the look you were going for, but...
You know what? I found that when I was walking through cities at night, I use the poncho to cover up my military vest and stuff like that because it was more of a hassle than anything, especially with cops.
Yeah.
But when I walked around, I was all covered up and I had like a walking stick and I pretended to be limping a little bit. I was just.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was all putting in. Well, the way I figured it was like I looked like I had something under my poncho, but I also looked kind of unhealthy and sickly because of my limp and stuff. So I figured people would think I was a beggar. I was all scraggly and hairy and stuff. But also I was carrying a lot of weight. I wasn't like super dynamic. Like I didn't feel like I could really, you know, defend myself very well. But at the same time too, if I feigned injury, this is a very specific context of walking in a city at night when I was trying to get out of the city, right? But I felt like if I feigned injury or limp, then if somebody thought they wanted to, you know, test me, I could surprise them by being a little more mobile and quicker than they thought. So I don't know if that was the right way to go about things, but that's the way I did it. So. Any
brushes with the law?
With the law, yeah. When I was in Manzanillo, I threw my poncho up because I thought, let's see what happens in the city here. And cops stopped me and they were like getting all in my face, pulling my poncho up, looking at stuff, and they asked me if I was like a mentally ill patient who tried to like escape from a hospital or something like that. Then they went like, they touched my pockets like, what's this? And I showed them my journal, and I had a picture of a girl who I was involved with at the time. And like, is this your girlfriend? And I'm like, maybe. And that kind of humanized me to them a little bit. They realized that I probably wasn't some sort of Mexican jihadi. And then another time in Costa Rica where just a random shakedown by tourist police. But I was talking to people from my hostel who were actually carrying drugs, and we didn't really know each other, so we got segregated, so it worked out well because I wasn't involved with that nonsense.
Yeah, that would have been bad if you were...
But you know what? I didn't handle... I handled the situation in the most hilarious way possible by just messing with the cops. But, you know, if... I was so confident that I had nothing to fear that they... Like, I started doing dumb shit. Like, I just walked like 15 minutes away from them, took a piss on the beach, or... You know, just start snapping pictures of them and stuff like that, and then they had, give me the photos. So, yeah, we take a photo. Yeah, come here, right? So, but like pretending I didn't know what they were saying in Spanish and stuff like that. Like, I was being really cocky and stupid, and I was drunk. It could have gone worse, probably. I felt that was typical of Costa Rica. I felt like I always felt kind of in danger when I was not. I shouldn't say always in danger, but I was there with a friend of mine. He flew in to meet me, and so unlike when I'm hitchhiking, I spend my time in the countryside. When I was with him, we hit all the tourist spots, and when you're a tourist, they just look at you like you just got a fucking dollar bill over your head. And so we were at this one bar where the shakedown happened. It was outside on the beach, but you know, everybody there was a pimp or a prostitute or a drug dealer, and it's just they're all kind of looking at you, giving you like dirty looks and stuff like that wherever you are. And so it wasn't the most friendly environment. Yeah, that's right. I'm rambling.
No, it's great. This is what we want to hear. You were allowed to ramble. We should. Can't wait to hear more. We are going to take a short break.
Yeah.
And we will be back with Andre and talking more about his travels and his upcoming travels and everything else about him. Welcome back. We're here with Andre Guantanamo.
That's right.
Okay, I thought I added another N in there that time. I always feel bad when I get people's names wrong.
That's okay.
You'll always be Andre to me. So out of your travels, if you could go back to one place, and I'm sure you will one day, but right now, if I could just zap you back, do you know which place you would want to be or what image? I know there's probably tons.
Well, Nicaragua, like I said, I fell in love with this village I found there. It's this place called Carpe Diem. It's an eco project, and like, he's building a resort there, but all like natural building, sustainable materials. And I found it just passing through Nicaragua on my way to Costa Rica. I linked up with these other travelers in Guatemala, and we rode together for a couple days. And they took me there. That's where they were heading. So I spent a couple days because I had some time to kill before my friend flew into Costa Rica. And I was just so enamored with the place that once I finished my ayahuasca ceremony in Ecuador, I had about a month before I had to be back home. I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to Nicaragua. And I did. I spent my last month there. I went surfing every day. It was phenomenal.
Now, you mentioned a ceremony? What kind of...
Yes, okay. So
I'd love to hear this.
I guess the purpose of the trip was pilgrimage for ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a root that grows in the Amazon that is a natural source of dimethyltryptamine, DMT, which is a very powerful hallucinogen. And the Amazonians have been using it as a spiritual medicine for years. And I've known about it for a few years now, and I've done some research into it, and decided I wanted to go do it and pursue it. So I was going to make my way all the way into Peru, on the Napo River in the Amazon, but I found a place in Ecuador, just short of the border, and I decided to do it there. And it was a great experience.
It was everything you hoped it would be?
I'm not sure what I was hoping for. On some level, I felt a little bit over-prepared for it, simply because I don't know.
Well, sometimes when you have a build-up, like, and you're like traveling there, so that's a big build-up, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it was only when I really sort of got to Ecuador that I started thinking, okay, this is going to start happening soon, right? So I got to start thinking about this and what I'm going to do. And my first couple weeks in Ecuador, I stayed in Guayaquil, which is one of the major cities. My friend Tom Antos, he's a filmmaker. He lives down there part of the year. Mm-hmm. So he was there with his wife and his newborn son. I stayed with them. It was a great time. We had some great food. Went out to the beach. I love Ecuadorian food. It's phenomenal. Then I departed Guayaquil and I went into the Amazon. And like I said, I found this village on the river. And I did 2 ceremonies there with a riverboat captain named Afonso, and I recorded the ceremonies, particularly the second one, which was the more powerful of the two, and I got some great footage of that, actually. So it's kind of cool to watch and go back. Unfortunately, you know, as much as in post-production and the editing process, I tried to tweak sounds and add sound effects to kind of simulate what I heard and experienced. Yeah. Ultimately, it's not, there was so many factors which were there and present. It was like a complete sensory experience. Yeah. So there's only so much you can do on film. But I'm very happy with what we did. And the way I shot it with a GoPro camera, we punched in certain areas, me and John, there's a gritty look to the footage, which makes it kind of cool. That's probably one of my favorite segments in the film, actually.
Well, it's cool that you said that, because, you said, like, as you want to get it as much as what you were feeling and hearing and feeling, which is, almost impossible, but you try the best you can. Because you kind of want people to watch it saying, that's cool, but you kind of want to see people like, I want to do that. You kind of want that too. That feels, so that's awesome. One of the things I noticed with the pictures when you traveled was when I see other people's pictures on Facebook, they look very touristy. But no matter what, because I remember you'd always have a picture of, like, here's a couple I met at a bar, and we're hanging out. Or here's a great guy that I'm having a few drinks with. And what I always loved about it is no matter where you were, you didn't ever look like a tourist. You looked like a guy who belonged with them. Even though it might not, like, I just was like, okay, he's known these people all, like, you looked like these were friends of yours, as in, like, and you may have just met them a couple of hours ago. But when you know how you see some people, we're tourists, but you look like you, because most people, here's a monument, here's me standing. But you were like, here's me with the people, having a great time. And I looked at it like, yeah, if I didn't know Andre, I just think this is the guy. Like, he's the guy in the village that everybody hangs out with. Did it feel like that? Like you?
Yeah, on some level, yeah, because, the smaller towns I went to and stuff, people always had a curiosity and a fascination, because a lot of places they don't see travelers, especially hitchhikers coming through, especially ones that don't speak Spanish. So that was kind of cool to kind of, have the interest in people, and people have made themselves open to me, and we talk and stuff like that. Sometimes you go to small towns and they're a little bit wary of you as well. And fair enough, I get that.
As anything, until you get to know.
Yeah, but one thing actually, it's funny you made me think of. I remember it was New Year's Eve. I was in Guatemala City, just outside of Guatemala City actually, and I was staying with this guy, Francisco, with his family. They were very warm, hospitable people. We had a great time. He hosts a lot of couch surfers. I actually referred a girl I met a few days later in another part of Guatemala to go see him when she was in the city, and they got together and had a great time as far as I know. But he said something to me. We were drinking a lot that night, and it was New Year's Eve, right? And he's sitting there. I look over, he's looking at me, and he's like, man, tonight you're my best friend. And I totally understood. With the way he said it, it made so much sense. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's not like best friend friend is not a static, fixed state.
Yeah.
Maybe you can say everybody's your friend in the broadest sense, for sure. Friends you haven't met yet, right? But, we had that moment, that time together. I intend to see him again at some point, but even if I never see him again, we had an amazing New Year's together. And we're still, in touch online, on Facebook and stuff like that. But there was so much truth when he said that, and I really appreciated that.
I know. I like that. I like when people... Actually, you said something earlier today that I think is going to be sticking with me for a lot. Because I think it's my philosophy in life. It's just I never can make it sound as profound as you did. When you said that you try to be vulnerable to people so they will open up to you more and stuff like that. Where I've always kind of had a sense of, like, trying to just be honest and real with people, even if, like, some people just can't handle it. But I still do it just because I don't really want... Like, early in my life, I tended to be a little bit, being what other people wanted me to be.
Yeah.
And then I hit a point where I just said, you know what? I hate that person. Everybody seems to like him, but it's not me. And then when I became just more open and honest, and I like how you said it. So when you say you were touched by what he said, like I need to get into the whole, let's live for this moment. Forget about tomorrow. Forget about the past. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, you know what? It's God, it's a cool feeling when you can do it, but it's tough. It takes effort. It's like training your mind, right? To really, and it's simple things too. Like, we all love to just grab a plate of food and then put on the TV, but our senses are drawn in so many different directions that we don't really enjoy either as much as you could. That's not a universal rule. Certainly, I've enjoyed eating while watching TV, but where possible, I do try and focus on one or the other. And even just doing what the Stoics call negative visualization. In the Christian tradition, I like to call it saying grace. But for me, I just think, if I didn't have this food, what would I be doing right now? And that makes me appreciate it more, just before I eat. It's not like you have to spend, a minute doing it. It's just, you consider that. And I think it just flavors your whole meal, so to speak.
Yeah. I think we are kind of losing that, where we're not opening up to each other as much, because it's easy to, just as you said, put the TV on, put the computer on, and look at your phone. Like, there's something... Like, I even see it, even at my work cafeteria, where sometimes you can see days where everybody's talking and chatting, getting to know, and then other days you look around and, everybody's just staring at their phone.
Yeah.
And it kind of scares me a little bit. I'm like...
Yeah.
It does. Because it scares me to think where the world's going to be in 20 years. Like, not that I should care about it, because I'll be on my way out at that point, but...
It's a good run.
I like to think, what's the future like? But I think we need that kind of interaction, and you got to do it with traveling and stuff. But They
Yeah.
say you should get to know people from all different statuses and ages and genders and anything, religions. Get to know them,
Yeah.
talk with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly put yourself in the mix. We do tend to segregate either officially or unofficially, um, people by age, by gender. And I mean, depending on where you go, sometimes they focus more on one than the other, right?
Yeah.
Certainly we, from an age perspective, we keep things segregated here, right? We don't, children when they're growing up, and like aside from their grandparents and their teachers, don't really have a lot of opportunity to deal with older people, and
Yeah.
older people are often kept, we put them somewhere so they don't deal with, not rest
I know
homes,
what you're
care
saying,
homes
yeah.
and stuff, but there's a segregation that I think is unfortunate, and certainly the socioeconomic one is a big one as well. We tend to hate people richer than us or poorer than us, or at least be mistrustful of them. That's just a function of living in a stratified society. But if we had greater, like a church is good because that's one of the few places where in a small community every walk of life can come together. And I think that's what this atheist movement, they really demonize church and religion. But on some level, in a small town, that's the only place where you're gonna get a broad cross section of society and what brings people together, build bonds of trust, where otherwise there wouldn't be any. Right?
Yeah, I have a lot of atheist friends, and I always like poking them a little bit, saying,
Yeah.
if you're such an atheist, why you take all this church stuff like marriage and Christmas, and you seem to like all that stuff with the perks, but
Hey, you know what? I'm all for picking and choosing. What works best for
Yeah,
you.
sure.
I think Bruce Lee said it best: absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and then add what is uniquely your own. But at the same time, too, live and let live. If somebody decides they want to go to church every Sunday, or somebody decides
Yep,
that's
absolutely.
they want to express their faith online, or conversely, if somebody decides that they want to be a godless heathen, then it's not for you to say no, you can't do that.
Oh, I never tell them not to do that.
Yeah.
I just question them why they embrace so many things.
I had this religious zealot screaming at me yesterday in Dundas Square in Toronto
Okay.
because he was screaming at everybody, but I made eye contact with him, and so he lashed
see.
onto me. And I don't think he realized that he was talking to Christ incarnate at the time, and so I had to remind him that you're dealing with Christ right now. And he took umbrage to that.
Really?
Yeah, he thought I was. He accused me of idolatry and being a false god and self-righteous. And I said, I explained my position that we all have to strive to be Christ-like. And I think he realized that I was making a good point. People were cheering for me, and so he kept yelling at me just so he didn't lose whatever power he felt he had.
That's cool. That must have been a great moment.
Well, my brother and my friend Brett, I was with them, and they thought it was funny. So
I like that you have these religious... the closest to a religious moment I ever had was I remember being downtown. We're going back probably the 90s. And there was a guy who used to talk about the apocalypse and how we're all going to die and all that stuff. And, he'd be on his little soapbox and he'd be like, I think sometimes they had a megaphone or something, or they'd just yell really loud. And I remember walking, just, okay, there's him. And then all of a sudden, I hear Devlin Bishop. And I thought to myself, oh my God.
yeah.
This guy's calling my name by hand, and I turned around, it was my friend. But they had a similar voice, and I literally, for a second, I thought, oh my God, I'm supposed to listen to this guy.
Yeah.
That was my big religious moment.
I could see how that'd be a little upsetting, for sure.
I literally had a moment where I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to follow this guy.
It's this street preacher moment.
Yeah, because I was at a very bad time,
by the
so
way,
I was like, to me, that was somebody calling me out. I would have been... Any religion that was calling me out at that time, I would have joined. But it was just my friend, and he had a tendency to, what were you going to say?
I would say, on that note, you have a cool name. I like your name. It's a cool name. Devlin
I gave it to myself.
Bishop.
You know that?
It's not your birth name?
Devlin is not my birth name. Bishop is my name.
No, okay.
You did not know that.
I did not know that.
I think even my viewers knew that.
Really?
My name's Donald Bishop.
Ah.
And I have been using the name Devlin since I was a kid. Only 2 people in the world have ever figured out where I came up with the name Devlin, and I'm always impressed when they find it out.
Are you a fan of Mad Magazine?
I know. Why do they have a Devlin in there?
It was
Well, wait a minute.
Desmond Devlin was one of the.
I did read. When I say I'm not, I don't read it now. But when I was a kid, Mad Magazine was one of the first things. I think that's where you first get some of your humor. Back in our day, it was.
Yeah. That's where I learned about American politics.
Yeah. And so back then, yes, but I didn't remember. No, there was a really crappy TV show about a stunt driver that just went by the name Devlin. It was a horrible show, but it ran for like 1 year, and people around the 70s, around my age, kind of remember it.
Yeah.
But I remember I used it for everything. As a kid, I would always call myself Devlin, Devlin, Devlin. And then I got into poetry writing, and I wanted something flashier. So I talked to my parents, and I said, look, still, I have nothing against my name. I just want you to know that I'm going to start going by this name.
Yeah.
And so now I've kind of got like this new life, because I believe that when you hit a certain age, you should give yourself a new name, like an add to your name, because it's just your parents saying, okay, let's. I was named after a person that they got into a fight with, like 3 weeks later, and so I got stuck with his name. He was my godfather, but they got into this big fight. Never saw him again. I've never met him, and I got his name. So I think you should get.
Life is funny like that.
So I used the name, but I thank you for calling. I hope it's not less alluring for you, because.
No, your name is lost none of its luster. Now that I know the origins of it.
But I most people know me as both.
Yeah.
But it's some certain areas I don't like to be referred to as the one. Like, it's not like a case of like, though I always think one day it could be a Jekyll and Hyde thing.
Really? Who would be the Hyde?
I don't know. That's a good question. I want to say Devlin.
See, this is what people want to know.
I want to say Devlin, but I think Dawn is the darker one. Because Devlin is more focused. Devlin is more... Because everything I've done with Devlin is my creative side. I've not... Yeah, this is getting deep here, and I'm supposed to be interviewing you.
No, I can...
Next time you come, you can interview me if you'd like.
Welcome to Andre's Pirate Radio.
Everybody wants to take over my show.
Donald, a.k.a. Devlin Bishop.
But thank you for... I'm honored that you like my name.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, though, about, like, especially the thing about your creative pursuits being under, the name Devlin typically. I think an alter ego on some level, or at least creating a character, even if it has the same name as you, is a way in which to voice things that, the 9-to-5 you might not be able to. Like, I have a legal name that I don't use, but it's on all my government and financial documents.
Oh, really?
Right? And so...
Is this something you can tell me, or is it...
Yeah, it's Sergio Andre Jose Solocabella, which was the name I was given when I was born.
So Andre's your middle name?
Andre's technically a middle name, but I've always been called Andres. So remember Guantanamo started when I was coming back from Afghanistan. I'm like, I'm gonna have to start looking for some gainful employment. And so since I was acting a goddamn fool on Facebook even then, I was like, I don't want employers looking me up, so I changed it to something. It was either gonna be Guantanamo or Gustavus, but I went for Guantanamo on a whim. And years later I started acting, and I'm like, it just made sense because that's how everybody knew me anyways. And to this day, people are like, yo, Guantanamo, what's up? So
right now, we've got listeners trying to change their name or adding a name to them.
I feel like it's one of those things...
I've wanted to actually legally put Devlin in my names, but everybody tells me if it's not your last name you're changing, it's just kind of not really important to put your first name.
I mean, it's as important as you want to make it. I think...
I will have it on my... Not that I will have a tombstone, but if I had one, I would have all the names. Mike knows that. But
yeah.
I don't think I'll have a tombstone, but...
Yeah. You just gotta keep it separate so you know what you're,
Wait, this got morbid real fast. But you know what I mean?
I never thought about the name that I want my tombstone. I never thought about what I want the epitaph to be. I don't know what it is going to be, but I think that's what I would have given more thought to as opposed to what name goes on my tombstone.
Well, just Mike and I were out in the, because when I go see my parents, they have a little headstone and stuff, and I find it a very peaceful place, and I'm happy Mike does too. Like, it'd be weird, because some people are weirded by going, but I find it very comforting, and I even like walking around, looking at the other names, and just imagining, wow, that they died very old, they died very young. You try to wish you could almost see what their lives were, and And we talked about, like, if you were going to get something written on your headstone and stuff, but that was going back a bit. Now I think we both kind of want to just be flying in the wind with cremation.
That's probably what I would opt for.
Yeah.
Donate all the organs. Whoever wants them, and then donate my body to some necrophiliac if they're interested, and then when they're all done with it, just send it.
Oh, sorry, that was not my hand going up. I'm not a necrophiliac.
Well,
I don't want to start rumors.
Fair enough, Devlin. Fair enough, but you have to outlive me, though.
I know.
That's the caveat.
Yeah. Well, if you keep going to dangerous places.
Yeah, it's funny. Death is. Like I said, I don't want to die. I'm not a suicidal guy, but I find.
Well, this got deep fast. I love it. I like when it goes places.
I joke, like, I make a lot of memes online on my meme page, Meme Amateur on Facebook, and a lot of them have to do with death and, dying a good death. And what I was saying about, the war boys in Mad Max there, like, there's that one line that Nux has, is like, if I'm going to die historic on Fury Road. And, that whole, witness me, right? I feel like maybe it's a function of this attention economy where everybody wants, like, the most likes or whatever, but, and partly probably the military background as well, but also just the experiences I've had in life. It's like I realize that if we can look at our deaths pragmatically and accept that we're going to die without being afraid of it, just accepting it, we can, okay, well, now that this is going to happen, I know this is going to happen, so how do I want to die? Like, you can look at it more pragmatically and start to plan. Yeah. And the only way to really ensure you die the way you want to is to start living in a way that would, culminate in that, right? So yeah. I think that's why I said earlier about, I think the way you would want to die.
Yeah, no, I never saw that you had a death wish when you said that. I said, no, it was a very spiritual thing kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an aspect of spirituality too.
I think about that too. Like, death kind of always plagues me, if that makes a weird thing. But I know deep down inside I don't want to die, but I've always thought my biggest thing is I don't want to be afraid when I die. Because to think that I don't want fear to be my last emotion on Earth.
Yeah.
I want to kind of be like, well, perfect world. I'd like to be surrounded by some really close friends of mine and just see those faces before I go. And then I'll be like, I'm going to cry in a minute. I told you, anything makes me cry. That's a perfect world, but even I think to myself, what if something bad happened to me? Can I get to the point of that spirit, like, don't be afraid, mm-hmm. One thing I do know is that, it's weird, is that I know when I die, anybody who's meant something to me will know how I felt about them. And that gives me comfort. Because I've lived my life telling people, like, even if a stranger that I've just met says something to me that I am touched by, I will tell them, I am touched by what you just said to me. Thank you. So I know that if something mysteriously happens to me, or I just, like, die tomorrow, hopefully that doesn't happen. But I know that all the people that mean something to me, and even little, like, people that I've just maybe had a small relationship with, I hope they know what they meant to me, because I let them know. Because I grew up with a family that never said I love you. They didn't hug. They didn't do that kind of stuff. It was just, we care about you. That's it. Yeah. And when I got older, that was it. And when I got older, I said, that's not enough for me. That is not enough for me. I'm going to start, and I always take credit for teaching my dad I taught him how to say I love you. Because I kept saying it to him and eventually started saying it back. I started hugging him and eventually he hugged me back. We kissed. My family was like, because my mother was, like East German. Mm-hmm. So don't get me wrong, beautiful, emotional woman, but can be very cold. Like, very cold with emotions. Like, I don't show my emotions. Very, if my father teared up at a movie, she'd, like, mock him. Like, oh, yeah? Yeah, she could be crying, but what, are you crying over there? Like, honestly, the last movie we ever watched, all three of us together, was the pig movie, Babe.
Oh,
okay. That's beautiful movie, but it's
It
very
is.
sad,
It
okay, at the
is.
beginning. And, like, I'm literally tearing up, and I cry about everything now. But,
Dude, I
like,
want to watch Babe again.
yeah, it's a great film. It's a weird film because it's like a kid's film that doesn't pull any punches.
No.
It's like these animals are food. Babe, you're special, so you're gonna move on. But these other people, they're food. Okay, they're going to
Yeah.
die. Okay,
It's funny.
your parents were food, and I'm like, this is like the most sophisticated kids movie,
You
and
know,
that's why it was up for a best Oscar because they did it in such a great way.
that's like the challenge of having anthropomorphized animals as like characters in cartoons. It's just like if you're doing it in a farm setting, right? It's just these are gonna die, right? Unless you go the Animal Farm route where they overthrow everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like Charlotte's Web or Chicken Run, or
Yeah.
you know, it's
But Babe's important because it's like the pig had special skills, so he gets to move on. Well, I always joke now, like when I grew up, we went to school, nobody was special. You were just like, okay, you're just an idiot like everybody else. And now every kid gets told they're special. You're special. You're special. We'll all get trophies. We'll all get, and then when they get into the real world, they realize they're not special anymore because everybody tells them, no, you're not fucking special. And so we at least had a harsh reality. We knew what we were coming into and was like, oh yeah, you can be special, but you have to work at it. But now we teach all these generations that no, you're just special because you breathe and you sit there. Am I right, Andre? Am I wrong? Am I right?
I'm torn how I feel about that because
I know it's horrible.
I think that you should. I think that you should instill in kids an idea that they're special because they're alive. But at the same time too, also instill in them a sense of that their sense of self-worth is something that has to be developed through character building trials. I don't like for me, and this is very biased the way I look at the world, right? Acquire experiences. I think you can add value to yourself by experiencing new things and not living a myopic sort of insular existence, but putting yourself out there more. So I think give the kid a sense of baseline worth that he has value, but also instill in him this constant desire to constantly enrich himself and make himself more worthy and have a.
But we don't do that. We just do the first part, I believe.
Yeah,
not every kid. Obviously, there's some teachers that do that.
Mm-hmm. I find that we tell kids they can do anything. We tend to frame their potential within a very narrow, sort of linear set of achievements and goals. Like doing something that'll give you this status in society or this status in financially or whatever. And we don't really focus on things that will enrich them, broaden them, and as human beings, more generally speaking, right? That things that aren't profitable in a direct sense, in fact, might cost some money, and the things like that would typically build character, like travel or hardship. Travel's a big one because most people say, "Oh, I like traveling." They're talking about a very commodified, prepackaged experience, all inclusive, in a very sterile, gentrified area of a I guess third world is not the proper term anymore, but a third world shithole, right? So they go to the guarded resort and stuff like that. And I don't judge people for what they can do. At least they're making an effort. But I don't think it's necessarily a character building thing.
Yeah, no. Well, the people could easily be in their own town and go volunteer at a shelter or something.
Yeah.
And that's but they wouldn't do that because, they I can't deal with that,
that's one of those things where it's one of those things I should do more of. Even becoming like a big brother, right? But those are, especially with it becoming a big brother, I've thought about doing that for years, but I just don't know that I can make the commitment, and I wouldn't want to let a vulnerable kid down.
No, it's a big decision. Like
that's
I've helped out at soup kitchens and stuff a couple of times, and it was. I hate saying the word rewarding because it was, but at the same time, you learn a lot of stuff. It's rewarding because you realize that there's a lot of people out there. Like, I remember, you learn rules that you don't expect, like, make sure everybody gets the same portions, because there are people that will see one more, piece of celery and stuff, and things you never think of. And then I just remember when they'd open the doors, and then people just be piling in, and you'd just be like, your heart would be like, but you'd also not want to show it. Like, I was very positive, come in and stuff. And, some of them, like anything, some were very gracious, and some were like, I'm entitled to this kind of thing. Yeah. And it was always, it was. There was people there that just was like, they couldn't care less. This is mine, this is that. But other people were like, I remember a couple that, didn't have much, and they came right up and just, God bless you for taking your time to do this. And that was really touching, because it was like, you could tell it was genuine, that they were like thanking you for doing this. Like, even though, and then I got to see like the stuff they do, what they have to make with the food that they don't have a lot of, but they have to stretch out. And the people who do the cooking there, I was just so enamored by them because of all the stuff. But then, so we're sitting there looking at it like, wow, that was a lot of people. And I remember the guy coming in and goes, yeah, you should see it on one of our busy days. And that just makes your whole heart sink, thinking, oh, this is, and he goes, yeah, this is a good day, because this is like just after check day. And so, a lot of those people will do some grocery shopping, and then when their money's thing, they come back. So, but it is really rewarding. So, sorry, no, we're talking about everything, and that's good. That's a good thing. I was going to ask you, back to your travels.
Yeah.
Was there anything you really missed while you were gone? Like, a luxury or anything? Yeah, obviously you missed your family and your friends, but I meant, was there like times where you're like laying on your mat in an old building thinking, you know what I could use right now? You can be honest. If not, that's fine. I just thought there's got to be a something.
There was a few times where I really missed marijuana.
Okay.
Because I certainly...
Yeah.
I certainly didn't take any with me, at least not intentionally.
What do you mean not intentionally? You accidentally took some with you?
Yes.
Okay, but, sorry. We never heard that. We never heard that.
In any event, that's why you make sure you go through all your pockets before you go traveling.
That's our tip from Andre.
In any event. Yeah, I mean... But I guess the thing with that was the only thing especially when I was in Nicaragua, when I was traveling day to day on the road, I preferred not to be high, because first of all, cars whipping by me at 100 kilometers an hour, but also we got stuff like cops. I don't want to be like, But when I was in Nicaragua, we were in a very isolated place, and it was a little hard to come by sometimes, which surprised me a bit. But by the same token, it is what it is. We got by without it. Certainly, there was enough cheap rum there. Nicaraguan rum, for the record, is great. But I guess when it comes to alcohol or marijuana, I do prefer marijuana. Not just for the health reasons, like, because alcohol just feels gross and loaded afterwards, and it dumbs you. It dumbs me anyways, but I feel like marijuana, it sparks my creativity, right? And so I really do prefer it as a drug. So I could use more of that. Other than that, the creature comforts, you don't really miss them that much. Sometimes it's nice to fall asleep with like a laptop or a phone with internet. But I had a phone with internet in Mexico especially, so if I wanted to dick around online before I go to bed, I could do that.
Were you on the road when you asked people to send their favorite traveling songs? Was that?
Oh, I was posting.
Was that? I can't remember.
Songs from my own travel playlist.
Yeah, I know, but at one point I think you asked send traveling songs.
I may have.
Was that? Yeah, you did.
I would have been on the road. Yeah, definitely. Because that's probably one of those things I would have thought, like, I wonder what else I can listen to.
That's cool. Was you inspired by those? Because I actually sent you one, but I don't know if you. I don't know. I don't know if you enjoyed it at all. I sent you the theme from The Littlest Hobo. Because that is my favorite traveling song. Because it's like he's like right in the song. It talks about him traveling, and one day he might stop.
Yeah.
But until then, he's just gonna keep.
You know what? That would fit in well with my travel playlist, because a lot of the songs had to do with that. Right?
There's a dance mix online.
Does it?
Yeah, if you want something faster.
I would probably.
There's a full theme. There's a full theme.
Natural, I think.
There you go. But believe it or not, there's an actual single version. I play it.
Yeah.
I used to not be able to listen to that song because I got teary-eyed when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because I'd always feel bad because that poor damn dog would like.
Songs can make me cry. There's a few that get me, especially when I'm open to it. Really, that's a powerful thing. So if that song is it for you, then
It does. Well,
then explore that.
I've got like 400 songs that try to touch
makes me cry.
I'm at that point. Everything, pretty much. But that song used to like. I'd hear it in the other room, and I'd just like, "There's that dog on that rock looking over the thing."
Yeah, but when
I'm gonna send it to you again.
Just maybe one day he'll stop and slow down. Like, I certainly had those feelings.
Well, because every episode was the same. He'd have an adventure like you do. With a family or something, and then they'd be like, "Oh, you should stay." And they'd always give him a different name, and then he would just be like, "Look at them," and then he'd run down the road, and you're like, the song would play because that was his "Maybe Tomorrow," and
my life though.
Yes, The Littlest Hobo. It was a very popular show. They still air it.
I remember when I was a kid. I watched a few episodes when I was a kid, but I remember the theme song.
I'm going to send you that song before you go, just so you can add it to your thing. And then you can think of me when I'm on there. You'll think, he's crying somewhere if he was listening to that. We're going to take a break right now, and I'm probably going to put the Littlest Hobo theme in this if we legally can do it. And we'll be right back with Andre. And we are back. What a show. We've been hitting everything. Like we've talked about. A quick recap. Andre travels. He does adventurous things. I've compared him to the Littlest Hobo. Mm-hmm. We both don't really want to die, though we're okay if it happens. Have I covered it all?
That was the thrust of it, I think.
Now, this project you're working on, is it going to be a documentary, a movie, a series? What's your goal?
I'm going to film a film with my GoPro, probably using some lessons from the last film. Like, I realized a lot about what shots are better than others, what shots are completely boring to watch, just have a bare minimum of them, like me just talking to the camera, giving expository dialogue. So I realized some things I'll focus on to make it better. But one thing I'm going to do now is really focus more on the social media aspect of it and the updates online. Yeah, I felt people really latched on to that and they could kind of follow along with the adventure. And I felt like I did last time I created the El Peregrino, the pilgrim character, with the poncho and sombrero. This time around, like I created another character, El Vaquero Cantante, which is the singing cowboy. And so I think the outfit, for me, it touches on a lot of those themes I mentioned about America earlier, not least of which is the big American flag I'll have draped off my back. But
is that the one you showed recently? Didn't you write something on it?
I posted it on, I stitched the words chillin' the most on it, which is kind of a reference to a Kid Rock song, Cowboy. Okay. From back in like the late 90s. And it's a lot of that era of music, not just that era, but like the late 90s, early 2000s, some of that new metal, rock rap and stuff like that, like Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock, some Eminem as well, and that sort of American spirit, but for the 21st century, like a grassroots sort of thing. Yeah. I really sort of latched onto that, especially when I was conceiving of the look I wanted to put together, and also the adventures and the places I wanted to go. Right. So
I love that you work on your look when you go. That's awesome. To me, that's great.
I'm going to take it further than that, like because for me, it's.
Action figures?
Yeah, actually. I
would love an Andre. Would you trust me with an Andre action figure?
No, I would not. You will not be.
Well, I have just been insulted. All right.
Of course you get one. I'd send you one first, like a prototype.
There
Make sure
you
it's
go.
anatomically proper.
I would check it out for sure. I'd have to measure stuff.
I think like right now I got.
Sorry, he's trying to be serious, and I'm
no
here
worries.
Okay, good.
I expect this.
Andre knows me. I love hitting on Andre.
I got at least 2 more adventures I want to do, which will be replete with distinct costumes. Okay. 2 more characters that I want to create that I've already kind of conceived of. That may change after this one. But I think I'd like to do something at some point in the future, create prototype models and something like that. Because I haven't been collecting the last few years, but I do love action figures, and I love customizing action figures. And I've been researching on like some of the action figure forums on Reddit for where I could acquire, one-off things. Does anybody, where can I get a platform to do this?
Sure.
A lot of the equipment would be, standard stuff like military stuff that you could buy a la carte, but other accents like some of the more effeminate flourishes of my outfit might be more custom jobs.
That's awesome, though. I love it.
But yeah, you know what? You create a strong character. It's like a kernel or a grain of sand in an oyster that people can latch onto, and you create the pearl around that. I think give people something that they can latch onto with their imagination, for better or for worse. Like, I mean, my costume as is now, I wore an early prototype of it to a block party in Toronto. My sister was hosting throwing. And, people are, why are you wearing an American flag? I don't like what you stand for. But that was it, right? Like, they didn't know anything about me, right?
Well, people latch on to certain...
Yeah.
Like, some people soak in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And other people just see, boom, you're wearing a scarf, you're wearing a flag, you're wearing a bandana. You got flouncy jewelry. Yeah. I don't think it's flouncy, by the way.
I don't know what flouncy even means, though. It could very well be flouncy.
It's not flouncy. Flouncy is probably more me when I dress up and do stuff.
This is me trying to be like you with the earring. Although I make these.
Do you really?
Yeah. In fact,
but you don't have it pierced. You just stick it in there.
It's a clip, like a cuff.
It looks great.
Thank you very much. I got some.
I can't stop. I need a show just to compliment you. Would that be wrong? Would that be wrong?
That wouldn't be wrong.
Would it be bad for your ego?
Bore the hell out of your viewers.
It wouldn't bore me. Would it bore you if I just complimented you? A little bit?
I don't know. Being objectified is one of those weird things where it's just like, in theory, this would be awesome. But I have ideas, though. Yeah, listen to me. My eyes are up here.
Okay. You got brains, too. That's what makes it great. You're the whole package. You think I just see you as a sex toy? That doesn't sound right. A sex object? That sounds better. Sex toy.
I mean, a sex toy is a sex object.
Yes, it is.
Strict terms. Now, I know you appreciate my intelligence, and I appreciate that about you.
Yes. No, you're a very caring person, and I love hearing about your projects. And that's why we have you here to tell us about them. Oh. And now you're heading out again.
Yes, this one is going to be called World Was on Fire.
Okay.
Which is...
World was on fire, so it's no longer on fire?
Well...
Sorry, I'm reading too much into it, right?
It's for posterity, right? 100 years in the future when, we've rebuilt things from the ground up. People can watch it like, the world was on fire at that point, and he was going around traipsing through the flames. It's kind of a reference to a Chris Isaac song.
Wicked Game.
Yeah.
Excellent song.
There's a bit of a romance element to it.
Nobody loves no one. Yeah. Fuck, when I first heard those lyrics, I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Because here's this song about, like, it's sexy, it's romantic, and then he ends with that line. Like,
yeah.
That's deep. I wanted to ask you about that. You said the singing cowboy.
Yeah.
Are you a singer?
Fuck yeah. And that's the thing, is I've never been a musician my whole life.
I was about to say, you got your bongos now.
My dad, great guy, but he... there's always a but. He, would always, make fun of me when I was singing as a kid, like, you couldn't carry a tune if it was in a wheelbarrow, something like that. You like that better than singing when I was, And as a kid, you take it more seriously. I never thought I was a good singer. I never had a high self-concept in it, but I tried. I was in the choir for a couple of years. But, coming into my own more as an adult, I've always listened to hip-hop, and for me, rap is a little easier because you can talk over a beat, more or less, and I feel more comfortable rapping and singing. But I really tried to embrace my singing, and in fact, when I always sing on the road. When I'm hitchhiking, that's to keep yourself busy, right? In fact, when I got robbed traveling around the Northern Hemisphere in 2011, I had no more music, so I was singing all the time, and I'd print off lyrics for songs that I wanted to sing that I couldn't remember the lyrics to. But this past trip...
Not awesome that you got robbed, but awesome that's how you kept your spirit up.
Single greatest experience of my life. It shaped me and taught me so much, and it really, in so many ways, made me the way I am today. But that's another story. I do like to sing, and when I was in this eco-village in Nicaragua staying there, like, I would get up 45 minutes before everybody else, get the water boiling and all that, and then at 6:30 I'd go around and sing to wake everybody up, right? So, I love to do it. It was fun to do, and it was, everybody kind of brought something unique that they shared. And for me, that was it. That was the alarm in the morning.
I love learning about people that I thought I knew. I did not know you sang, but as soon as you said the singing cowboy, I go, wait, hold on, I gotta ask him about that, because I can't remember, did I ever see you sing at a karaoke, possibly?
I don't think so. I don't
No,
know.
you're not a karaoke
I
kind
love
of guy?
karaoke, yeah, for sure. I don't go that often. I don't go to...
Well, there's not a lot of places that you can go, but...
Well, there's one place, Boston Pizza has karaoke on Monday nights, although I don't know, kind of involved before the bartender was there for a while earlier this summer, and I think I insulted her, so I just avoided it at this point. So...
You're a ladies' man.
You'd think so.
Did you break hearts? Did you break hearts while you were traveling? Are there any hearts with your name tattooed on them? Oh, God. Now come the hard-hitting questions.
I'm just trying to think what I can talk about. Because
Yeah, well, keep it... Yeah,
there was
hard-hitting. I'm just...
There was...
Simple yes or no would have been good, but
yes,
hey, I love that you're...
Short answer...
I shouldn't have said anything!
I will say this. There is a companion I will hopefully be traveling through most of this with, if not just some of it. We'll probably meet up back in Nicaragua where we first met, and she's somebody I fell in love with, and she's in Australia now, and I would like her to fly to the States and meet me, and she may still when I'm there. I'm flying down to New Mexico to do a job that'll be done on the 16th, and I want her to meet me on the 16th. But she's still got some stuff to do down in Australia, like selling the vehicles she's got, and she's got to decide like what her plans are. But I'd like to see the world with her. And we had talked about when I was still in Nicaragua with her. We had talked about the two of us traveling together, but I had to be back in Canada for my brother's wedding and stuff. But now with no real obligations in life, I've kind of unencumbered myself with those things. So I'd like to travel with her. I feel like there's a beautiful sort of complementary thing we have. I think I can learn a lot from her.
Nice.
I think in a lot of ways she's a female version of me. So naturally the coolest person I ever met. But no, I tell you, in that regard, simple yet disciplined. Like she's somebody like me who doesn't need a lot to be happy, but she's disciplined as well. She doesn't just let herself go. She makes efforts for things that are important to her. Where I think there's a tendency when you're on the road just kind of become a wastrel, right? And I shouldn't. That diminishes a lot of cool people I met who live very max relaxed distances. And certainly, it's all relative. Like some people might look at me as a wastrel, but in any event, she's somebody I feel like kind of embodies those two qualities that I value most in myself and reflects them back to me. So, yeah, I'll hopefully be traveling a good portion of it with her, if not just meeting up with her back in Nicaragua.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, and this is going to continue, and you said you're almost going to do a series of these.
Yeah, there's two more ideas I have for adventure documentaries that I want to make.
If you're not ready to deal with them, we'll just have you go back. But
one will take place in a series of European cities.
Okay.
And
I think the last time you were here, I described that Andre has this like sexy, wicked smile, and there's stuff he's not telling us, and I can tell right now when he says series of European cities that he's got plans. Let's just say.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And then the other one will be the larger of the two, the bigger undertaking, and it'll be in North Africa. But,
oh, really?
Yeah. So to protect myself from ISIS, there might be a few steps I have to take to prepare myself for that. We'll see. I know I'm being very cryptic right now, but
that's fine. We don't want to.
I just want
you to shoot your load too early. But you'll just have to come back and tell us, and then I can flirt with you more and talk.
Yeah, I would. It's always nice to be flirted with.
That's what I'm here for.
If you know how to handle it. I mean, it's one of those things where it can be very off-putting to some people to be flirted with.
Oh, I know. I've known you long enough.
A couple years.
I've never felt that you were ever offended by it, because if I did, I would have backed off.
Yeah, no, I don't get offended by it.
No. because I can read people really well, and if I'm
What am I
like
thinking right now?
not like that well, but what I'm saying is like if I know when like, oh, okay, I flirted with you and the way they took it was a positive way.
Yeah.
But if I see anything like body language or anything then I usually like, okay, I'm not going to do that with this person. Yeah, you can tell because on my show I flirt with a lot of the people that come on, but you can tell the
So you're
ones that I'm
flirting with
not
other
sure.
people aside from me.
Well, it's different with you.
I don't
It's
know.
different.
Fucking better than me.
You know, it'd be a great reality show, and when I say great, probably not so great. You and I traveling together, because you know I couldn't handle it.
All right, who'd be the leader? Who'd be the sidekick?
You want me to lead? No, you'd be the leader.
That was a rhetorical question.
I know. No, because I can just. I know there's a lot of people listening to this laughing their asses right now because they know I can't do 2 hours at a picnic, and to think of me walking with you, hitchhiking, you know. I think we'd have fisticuffs or something down the way.
Fisticuffs? We have some squabbles? We'd have a proper duel.
It would be, yeah. But the idea of it sounds great. Somebody who's experienced with traveling and somebody who isn't, but unfortunately I know my limitations.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bit of an odd couple scenario.
It would be.
For sure.
If we could do it in a weekend, I'm there.
Where can we go in a weekend? Like logistically, what can we do in a weekend?
I don't know. You're the leader. Ooh, look at that. See?
Well, I'll entertain ideas and I'll make the final choice.
There you go. There you go. But it would be interesting. Now, is your game plan to go all around the world, or is there some places you... That sounds horrible. Is there some places you just don't want to go to?
You know what?
As a traveler, I've never heard anybody say, oh, fucking never going there, you know?
I have a bit of a longing to go see North Korea, but at the same time, I have whatever the opposite, an aversion to going there as well. I watched a documentary, the Vice one, where Shane Smith went to North Korea. And I mean, I'd like to see it, but the problem is it looks like such a dark and dismal place, and that everything that's cool about it is put on. It's like a Potemkinized country. It's just everything's put on for the benefit of people seeing it. So that, you know, it might be cool to experience that artificiality up close, but at the same time, I don't know. I wouldn't say no if somebody said, hey, let's go to North Korea. I have a ticket for you. I'd be like, giddy up, right? But I'm not in any rush to get there. There's more of Africa I want to see, particularly the Sahara. Desert climates fascinate me. I just find them phenomenal. So I do want to see the Sahara and also Southeast Asia. I'll get to at some point. I'm not in a huge rush to get there. I'd more so like to see like the islands in the Pacific, like go back to Hawaii at some point, but maybe go to smaller islands. I'd like to go see Bali, Fiji, places like that, and just kind of get lost. All the places that the French nuked in, the post World War II.
That's your plan. That's your game plan.
All the best places that they just nuked to shit.
Now, did you do any movie filming this summer while you were here? Or,
yeah, actually,
got anything
I co-produced a film called Poltergeist Encounters with John Miliori, and it's doing the festival circuit right now. We have distribution lined up. He's been handling all the admin end of it, so I should have actually got a refresher from him to tell you more updates. But it's a great film. We shot it. We had a haunted house here in Hamilton. We shot it in. We spent a night in it, so it was kind of authentic in that regard. I played a character named Mick Dinkum, who's like this Australian ex-Special Forces Paranormal Division. He's like a crocodile hunter for ghosts.
Awesome.
And then my friend Chainsaw Johnson, she played a character named Roach. Matt Bandura was in it.
Cool.
I played Terrence, and he Bandura the hell out of it. It was phenomenal. Like that guy's got such a stage presence and also a camera presence as well. Some of the funniest sequences are with him, right? And he had this. I don't want to give too much away, but he has this one freak out scene in the film where I was actually getting creeped out watching him do it. So it was a lot of fun to shoot. And then we spliced in. It was cool. We spliced in some of my footage from Mexico for my character, and we spliced in some of John's footage from his family vacation in the summer down in Haiti and the Caribbean. And so basically, we filmed it in like 3 or 4 different countries when push comes to shove, right? So. It was a cool little film to work on, and I'm excited to see what happens with it.
Is this something we'll be able to see at some point?
Yeah, eventually. I'll keep you posted on that as far as that goes. I've been so caught up in planning for my trip and stuff like that, and John, he's really got the the enthusiasm and the know-how to really kind of push things online and promote things and go to distributors and stuff like that. So he's really been handling it very well, and so I get my updates from him. So as I know things, he lets me know things, I'll spread it around.
Yeah, let us know. Like, send me anything that you want us to like promote. Like, if you have any links to like for people to follow you and stuff like that.
What I'll do is I'll send.
Because my 17 viewers out there, or whatever we're at now,
it was 17. It was 17 last year.
I know. I think we've lost a couple, but I'm hoping we gained a couple.
But you know what? Here's the thing: when you lose a couple, the ones that stick around, that's your base.
Yeah.
That's your bedrock right there, right?
That is. So I'm hoping we have a little more, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. And then this weekend is the last project I decided to stick around for because it really kind of spoke to me. But it's called Ghost is the working title, and it's about a hitman who has some very high-profile targets, and it deals with a lot of themes like. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to give away or not, but in any event, there's going to be some cool visuals and some cool... The storyline is actually really awesome. I like what they did with it. And it really spoke to me, captured my imagination as somebody who wants to seek out social change and stuff like that, and who realizes the folly of fighting the system. And instead, I think the path forward is showing a better way. And so I think when people watch this, there'll be a sort of cathartic expression against the people who they feel are responsible for their misfortune in society. But depending on how it's handled, I think there's still only outlines for the final episodes. So I think it can go in some interesting directions based on some of the conversations I've had with the production crew and the director and the writer, actually. It's 920 Films, Jordan G. Gray and James O'Donnell are spearheading it. And it's my first time working with him, but I met Jordan a few weeks ago at TIFF, and just really cool guy. We just clicked, and when he mentioned what his project was about, I was like, you know what, I'm going to stick around for that. It should be cool.
Nice. They probably appreciated that you did.
Yeah, well, me and my buddy Justin Moses, he's a stunt coordinator I work with a lot. We're going to head up there on Thursday. It's going to be up near Halliburton, and we're going to shoot all weekend and hopefully make it back to Toronto in time for some Halloween parties.
Very cool. Do you dress up for Halloween, or do you...
I dress up as myself for Halloween.
Do you? Well, you're a character in your own way.
You might appreciate this. I was going to dress up as my character for my film, El Vaquero Cantante, the City Cowboy, for Halloween, my costume. But I had this really phenomenal suit I wore to this vintage suit I wore to my cousin's wedding back in May. I haven't had any other occasion to wear it since. But it's, like I said, it's retro. I could go with Telly Savalas for Halloween, so... I'm thinking
there's a name a lot of people get.
Who loves you, baby?
And you know what prop you need?
What prop?
He has a prop.
Toothpick.
Lollipop.
The lollipop, yeah.
Yes.
I never watched Kojak at all. I'm not gonna
I know, I'm old, so I'm telling you, you gotta have your...
I was gonna get aviators and
Yeah, if you do Telly Savalas, he was poly.
Right.
Because I think I
knew
believe
that, I gapped on it.
I wasn't a big fan, but I know my dad was. I believe it was because he quit smoking.
I'm gonna look like such an idiot to listeners to your podcast because I forgot lollipop. They're gonna crucify me.
No. Well, that's why I'm here. I got your back.
Yeah.
I have an idea for a travel thing you need to do. Nudist beach.
Nudist beach?
Yes, and get some footage of that.
Okay, only problem with that is that I would definitely need releases and waivers.
Of everybody,
a lot of paperwork I don't want to carry around.
Yeah, well, you don't have anything.
Sorry, Devlin. It's not going to happen. Sorry.
I tried to get him nude. What can you say? I'm opening a nudist beach. Would that count?
Actually, there is a bit of nudity of me in the film that I'm putting together.
And I'm not allowed to look at that, though, right? If I'm not allowed an action figure, you're going to...
Oh, everybody.
I'll be at the premiere, and you'll be like, "Could Devlin please leave the..."
It's just me running up to the ocean, naked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, see my bum.
Well, that's lovely.
Yeah, it's pretty lovely. You know what? I don't have the greatest bum, but, it's ample, I suppose. It's comfortable to sit on, I guess.
Oh, my God. I'm looking forward... Now I see like a perv if I say I'm looking forward to seeing your documentary. Because you think I'm just looking for that scene. But
yeah,
you know I want to see all of you.
When you cut the crap, and I'll cut the crap.
So, do you ever see yourself settling down? Like, family, schlepping kids around, traveling,
I've been thinking a lot about fatherhood lately.
Yeah.
Not to say that I necessarily want to be a father,
But it crosses your mind, right?
I've been involved with 2 women for since the beginning of this year, I guess. The one who I'll be traveling with, and then another one who it's a bit complicated. But at least in the one case, there was a lot of talk of that about children, and I'm at a point now in my life where at 32, is that what I want? And I've thought about it, and for me, the big sticking point is I don't want to bring a kid into the world unless it's in like a kind of place where I feel comfortable raising a kid, a place that's like nurturing, where it's like a community where people, there's a high level of trust, and like all the other adults would be like uncles and aunts. Some place where I just feel like I couldn't do it here in Canada. Not just with a toll on me. Like I live a bit of a carefree lifestyle. I make as much money as I need. I keep my life simple, and I enjoy my free time. But if you have a kid, you have a lot to take care of.
It's a different story, yeah.
But if I could find a place where I could sort of live righteously and live, still live well and have a high standard of living and live healthily in a place that's beautiful and with a strong, close-knit community, then I'd be more open to it. On the other hand, too, maybe nobody's ever really ready, and it just sort of happens, and then you just make yourself ready.
They always say that, like, oh, you're never ready for it, but I think it obviously crosses everybody's mind.
Yeah.
Because I think there's that point where you're always like, okay, like even like as a gay man, I've had to make that decision. Like, this something that's
gay?
No, I'm
that
not.
explains all the flirting. Oh my god!
Oh, there you go. Wow,
Sorry,
he's one of the smartest guys I know, but he just sometimes doesn't get the obvious. It's the spirituality, the mystery of it all. But no, I'm just saying that it's something that you think about. I came across thinking about it, and I've gone back and forth. I think it's a big decision. I think I wish more people would actually think about it than one day it happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that happens quite often, like, oh, well, you know what I mean?
Well, actually, since you kind of opened the floodgates about being gay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I posted something.
You're dying to interview me, I think.
I am.
Secretly.
See, like Frost Nixon. It's going to be a hard-hitting interview.
Okay. Gay question.
I posted something about, because when I was traveling with that girl, I posted a Cherokee proverb. Something about a woman's highest calling is to guide a man to his soul so as to unite him with Source. A man's highest calling is to protect a woman so she is free to walk the earth unharmed. And that really resonated with me, and I think there is a sort of beautiful sort of synthesis and complementary aspects to that. As somebody who identifies as a gay man, like, how do you feel when you hear something like that?
It's an interesting question. Like, well, I feel when you say something like that, I see the beauty of it. Like, I do see the beauty of it and all that. It does actually, like, to me, when you say something like that, it's when I say, oh, it's beautiful. And then it sounds like something I'll think about later and think, how does that make me feel? Because it kind of takes me out of the equation. Yeah, I think it's something that I would think about, but it wouldn't offend me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, stuff like that, I do. I think people would be surprised how many times I do feel kind of like, as much as the world is becoming more, I can't even think of the word, like more comfortable with gay people and stuff like that. I still feel that there's still a side that I'm not part of, kind of thing, because I do believe in all the whole, marriage and like I recently I did a podcast talking about how I believed in God. Like, I have a belief. It might not be like everybody's interpretation, but I believe in it, and how I kind of respect the religion side of it, because if I didn't believe in God, I'd believe if the world was always about science, then I'm kind of more of an abomination in the science world, if that makes any sense. Because science tells me that, we're here to produce, we're here to populate the world, and because I don't offer that, then technically But at least the people who are heavily into religion, they hate me, so I matter there because they have something to. I'm going way deeper into it.
Defining yourself negatively rather than not defining yourself at all.
Right. Because science, I'm more of an abomination because technically we're all about production, producing. Technically, since I don't get a woman pregnant, does that make me just, he's just screwing around his life?
If that's the benchmark for, existing, I mean, a lot of guys aren't getting women pregnant, a lot of women aren't getting pregnant. So
well, I know, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. But when I hear that, I see the beauty of it. Like, when you tell me that, but I know if I was in a darker, like I was in a blue mood right now, that I would think about that. And I'd be like, wonder what it says when you put a man and his purpose for another man,
Mm-hmm.
I asked this question to somebody else, and I don't know if it's a great question or not, but I like it. And so this is going to be my new question. If we had a society that was just like men, okay, and we could produce whatever, do you think that you'd be able to fall? Do you think men would fall in love with each other
if it was just men?
If we did not know women existed,
but we were able to reproduce with each other?
Yes. Do you think?
Well, yeah,
it would happen. Because because it came up because of this, the new thing with Wonder Woman. The new movie said that she'll definitely be bisexual because she came from an Amazon planet.
Yeah.
And some people are like, that's horrible to say, but if you're in an island of all women, you'd fall in love, would you not?
Yeah, and it's funny because I think a big thing with the LGBTQ lobby, the whole idea of born this way,
yeah.
And they really, from what I understand, the activism that I understand, they marginalize the idea of social factors contributing, right? But you can look at things like, people make jokes about guys in the Navy, for example, being gay, but you can go back to a couple hundred years ago with pirates and stuff like that. There's documented research been done into homosexual relations on ships.
I totally,
in the Navy especially, and I think the tradition's carried on. Look at prisons as well. Aside from the rape statistics, I mean there is romantic relationships that happen.
There has to be, because I think it's our human nature to want to be.
It's like a jail pass though, because guys who might be staunch homophobics on the outside, you're in jail. The jail's all bets are off.
Yeah.
But yeah,
stranded on an island.
So I mean, I don't know. Born this way versus social factors. Yeah, I think social factors do consider. I mean, my own sexuality, because I've thought about it too. I think it can be a weird thing for guys to admit, especially guys who identify as straight. But yeah, you think about that. Is that what I'm into? What would be? I made out with a dude. Actually, I made out with two dudes when I was traveling last time. No. One dude when I was traveling, and truth or dare, a few weeks prior to that, before I left, I ended up kissing a dude as well. But it wasn't that I was attracted to the guy. It was that I was actually hitting on his friend. She was real cute, or but I don't think she was into me. But
apparently your friend was.
Yeah, he's like, cute. I was like, all right, let's go make out. Right? So we found the guy who I was traveling with. I don't think he would have really. He might, because we were sharing a room, and it was his room, so I was just like, I went away from him because if he sees me, for me it was like, you're a nice guy, sure, it'll make your night, right? Not that, whatever. I was just kind of I was kind of in the heat of it, and whatever. But if this other guy sees, he's gonna be weird about me crashing in his room because he was a guy I was hitchhiking.
Okay,
right?
so
we went into this side area of this bar, and we just made up 30 seconds, and it was like, okay, well that was fun. I keep in touch with this guy. He's not a bad dude, but. I mean, I'm not really looking to pursue things.
I'm bringing out all the dirt tonight here.
You know what? There's a few things that I have to... some of the best stories, unfortunately, I can't tell, but at the same time, some of them I can tell.
Well, share some if you'd like.
Well, no, there's one in particular, but I gotta wait for the statute of limitations. I gotta wait till it's such a non-entity.
Okay, I totally get it. We're not here about dishing dirt, but... The fact that you made out for someone just because you said, I'm going to make his night.
I think if people...
I think more people should make out.
Can I present a very controversial hypothesis?
Oh, absolutely.
I think people not getting laid is a public health problem. And I think we all owe it to ourselves to have sex with people. We all owe it to society to have sex with each other.
I find that the younger generation, sex is not. It's disappearing. Am I right?
I heard of a study where they said that millennials are having the least amount of sex.
Like I swear, like even when they have sex, it's just like, okay, now let's go play video game or get our cosplay costumes ready. Where, Christ, we were little horn dogs.
You, my friend, have your fingers on the pulse of a generation. Cosplay, video games, and minimal sex.
I know.
That's
No,
kids these days.
but I remember, like, as kids, like, even as teens,
kids,
we
we
would
were always
always
having
sitting
sex.
around. But even if we weren't having sex, we'd talk about it.
Yeah.
We'd want to, like, oh, yeah, let's watch something.
I was
like that.
trying to fuck since I was
But
like 4 or 5.
Now we talk, I hear them talking, the young kids, and they're like almost grossed out by everything. Like, and that disturbs me because it's just like sex is supposed to be fun and naughty and like,
yeah, we
really?
have so many hang-ups. I think there's a lot of fear of sex, and that contributes, I think, to a lot of the negative sexual encounters. I think there's a lot of fear involved, just generally speaking. People are not like fear in the sense of like this person's going to kill me, but more like fear of repercussions, reputation, stuff like that. I think there's so much negativity that goes into a lot of sexual encounters that I think that's where a lot of reporting it after the police comes from. I think they're... And again, I'm not an expert on this, so I'm going to disqualify myself by saying that.
No, we won't put expert under your name.
Yeah. Aside from those cases where it's, somebody taking something from somebody else, when you have the more gray area stuff, I think a lot of it has to do because the whole situation is predicated on fear, cultural taboos.
But that's what we're hoping for. Like, I think society is trying to build fear.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Right?
It's
like,
weird because we're tantalized, we're teased so much with sex, but at the same time, there's like this Puritan attitude towards it, and there's also like this. I mean, yeah, you can talk about sex and see it, but at the same time too, there can still be a taboo about it, even though there's like pictures of models on all the ads, right?
Yeah, sex will always have a taboo. I don't want it ever watered down, but it bothers me that people it seems like people now would rather watch like violence over sex.
That's so weird. I feel like people are incorporating violence into sex a lot more now. It's
you hang out with a rough crowd. No,
I saw this meme the other day where it's like dating in 2016. It's like, I hate that thing. I also hate that thing. LOL, choke me. Like the woman says, choke me. It's just, but it's, fuck. You know what? I don't know what it is. I've been single for about 2 years now. I mean, dating. Anyways,
yeah.
Because I came out of my last relationship, which was more long term, and there's certainly a pervasiveness of women who like to be choked, slapped, spit on, and I'm down for dirty stuff too. So like, I mean, it doesn't really bother me. In fact, I get into it as well, and I often I'll even push things in that direction. But yeah, I don't know what that owes to. I'm not sure if that's been a consistent thing, or violence has always had very strong ties with sexuality, or if it's just the conditioning that we go through on a societal level.
Do you think it's more as it's like society is trying to repress it? Do you think that's why there's a lot like those, like you said, you sometimes meet women who want a little bit more kink or dirtiness into it? Do you think sometimes, because I find that sometimes when you repress something, that's when some of the darker stuff starts coming out, because some people can't have that.
You know what? I realize that some of the more extremes I like to go to sexually, I'm aware that they're probably nurtured and conditioned from the sort of exploitative society we live in today, and so you're conditioned that you have this exploitative mentality, which unfortunately sometimes makes it into the bedroom, and it becomes a very intense. It becomes a sort of like a catharsis for like all your repressed, like a guy who might be insignificant in real life. He can be, for 30 minutes or an hour in the bedroom, he can be absolute power. And somebody who might be powerful, for example, might be role reversal where they get to be submissive and stuff like that. And I think the whole BDSM community would cease to exist if we lived in a more egalitarian society. But that's not a criticism of it. That's just saying it's a natural outgrowth of the stratified, exploitative, scarcity-based society we live in, where it's all about exerting power and accumulating power or submitting to it for a sexual thrill. we've been conditioned, I think, to come from power relations and power dynamics.
Very cool. Staying on the topic of sex, but lightening it up a bit,
Okay.
you did a very funny video about being allowed to jerk off on a first date in between the date. Well, by that laugh, I've definitely got the right person. I believe you said something like, it's okay for you to go off and...
Yeah. I think, you know what? It's a weird thing.
I loved it. When I watched it, I said, oh, he's going to get a lot of comments. But I personally love it.
Mid-date masturbation. Yeah, I think...
Like, literally, explain it to our people.
Well, I guess it arose from a situation where I left on November 17th last year, and for about 6 weeks, so like right till just after New Year's Eve, like early January, I didn't masturbate or have sex. I was on the road.
That's a crime. I just say.
But here's the thing, I feel like I didn't really have much of an urge to, simply because I was so tired every day on the road. I felt like, the other thing is too, I was using all that sexual energy to like push me to my higher aspirations, and so it was getting used up in other productive ways. I really feel like a man can sort of, women too, but I don't know, I've never been a woman, so I don't know how it works for them.
Yeah.
But for a man at least, by abstaining from sex, you can increase your motivation for things.
I'll say that, because sometimes I have no motivational.
But that said, on a physical, tangible level, things were still building up too. And I got intimate with this girl, and we were making out in this alley, and things got hot and heavy. We were both kind of half naked, and we were staying in the same place, and with his family. And these dogs, stray dogs everywhere in Latin America, they started barking, and she got spooked, and she ran in. And so for me, I was like, I had to at that point go and take care of business, because after 6 weeks of nothing, and then
in the alley
got brought. I went to somewhere more secluded.
Oh, okay, I'm sitting there. Oh my god.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. It would have been totally innocent if I did, but still, somebody saw me jerking off in an alley. I would have been a pervert, and all of a sudden, I'm a sex offender registry now. It's just nobody needs that in their life. There are so many times where
I'm sorry. I might take that image and put it in my memory for later. Just you jerking off in an alley, like.
Do you know how many? You know what's weird? We've all walked home drunk and pissed on the side of the road or whatever, like pissed in an alleyway or pissed in like a catwalk. But it occurred to me one time when I was really drunk.
On a catwalk? Like at a fashion
the rail
show?
trail.
Okay.
And I do my little piss on the catwalk.
I'm like, catwalk? Okay, so you're pissing.
Oh, this interview's really going off the rails now.
Yeah.
We're talking about midday masturbation. But anyway, and pissing in public is one of those things where, you know that joke, it's like if you shake it more than twice, you're playing with yourself?
Yeah.
What if I did shake it more than twice because I needed to while I was pissing in public? Somebody saw me. They could say I was playing with myself in public.
Yeah.
Damn, instant sex offender. That's fucked. That is fucked. But maybe I'm paranoid like that. I always think of the ultimate extreme of any sort of law or rule. I'm just like, okay, that seems innocent and practical as a law, but it can be taken to this extent, and that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, no, that's true.
In any event, one last thing I'll say about public urination.
Okay.
When only paying customers can use the restroom, but there's no public bathrooms, we're putting financial barriers on bodily functions, and I don't think that's right.
No, that's actually deep. I never thought of that, but...
Well, these are the things you realize when you're a hobo.
Yeah.
The littlest hobo. With the littlest bladder. I've actually, in Spain, I actually whipped my dick out on a public street and started pissing. And I was like, nobody's in front of me, nobody's behind me, there's a bush between me and the road. I don't recommend
things you never
doing
think
that,
of it.
But it's just like, it's a feather in my cap. I can say I pissed on Main Street.
That might be the name of your autobiography. I pissed on Main Street.
Oh, I already got the name of the biography. It's Purposeful Meanderings.
Nice.
Yeah, if you feel you got to masturbate, it's not right to try and force a woman to take care of your blue balls. Go handle it yourself like a man, you know. And if she's got a problem with that, fuck her. She can't tell you what to do with your body.
Yeah.
Just like you can't tell her what to do with hers.
Now, did you get a lot of backlash? Because you're basically saying if you're out on a first date with a woman, you can leave and take care of yourself and then come back for dessert.
I feel like you should. No, there's no real backlash.
But you said it was like, if you feel it's not going to go that way.
I would say that jerking off is always preferable to, you're being delirious and hysterical from the pain in your testicles and rushing things along. Because as a man, you got to be cool, right? And it's got to be cool when you got like a throbbing heart on,
This has really gone off the rails, but I love it. And we will wrap it up. But I think it's weird how do you think women, like, because we've never been women. I'm gays, but I'm still not a woman, but I can think like it. I think there's women are offended if you say, like, I was, like, if you imagine you told them, yeah, I was masturbating about you.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't. Wow.
Well, you'd never say that, right? But
or would I?
But would you be offended if a woman told you she masturbated thinking of you?
Oh, would I be offended?
Yeah, if she said, last night I have to say I was thinking about you while I masturbated.
I wouldn't be offended, but at the same time too,
would you be offended that you weren't there?
I would prefer the woman who said that to me is a woman who I would also consider masturbating thinking about it. Because like, well, why don't we? I don't know if that would be eliminating the middleman or adding the middleman. I don't know what it would be, but why don't we help each other out here?
So you'd be offended by the fact that you weren't there when you would have probably volunteered if you liked the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, we talk deep here at Devlin's Pirate Radio Show.
Yeah, we're going deep.
So when do you leave?
I fly down to New Mexico on November 9th is my ostensible travel day.
And you said you're going to be going around America for a little bit longer? Yeah,
that's the plan. I got a job down there till the 16th, and when that job is done, I start my film. So I'll probably go dark for about a week, and then I'll reemerge a beautiful butterfly.
Okay, and we will try to get your, like, if you have a Facebook that you can follow, we'll try to put the link to it if you're okay with that.
Well, I'll give you all the information for if you want to put it on the description for this. I'll send it all to you.
And I'm going to hope you come back when you do. And are you planning to come back to Canada when it's done?
Unless I really find somewhere I like.
Yeah.
I just want to disappear.
You think that'll be the time you're gone?
I'll say this. If I come back, I don't want to come back alone. That's one thing I feel at a very deep level. So.
Well, if you come back, you have to come back on this show.
Fucking A.
I need to flirt with you some more.
All right, let's do it. This has been a lot of fun.
We covered almost everything.
This last segment's actually my favorite.
I like talking openly
you know what I realize? No, but you think, and I know you want to wrap up. I will say this.
No, it's fine.
At 32, I'm just only starting to find my voice and be comfortable saying things without worrying about repercussions. And I feel like you were cool about bringing that out. So, and I know there's no judgment here. And if anybody else has a problem, fuck them where they live.
No, everything people know by now. If at my age, I kind of like having conversations with people because I instantly know how real I can be with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm almost at that point where I can make small talk, but I'd rather get into deep talks, whether you're talking about travel or life. Like, we talked about death, masturbation, sex. We've talked about everything here. Traveling. I love that. And at my age, it's just to talk about, like, the weather or groceries or something. I can do it, but if I get a chance to talk about masturbation or going to a nude beach or you making out with guys in alleys and stuff, Okay, it's not all sexual with me, but pretty damn close. But what I'm saying is, so I'm glad you feel comfortable talking to me, because some people, as I said, as a host, you got to be able to read them. Okay, like, this is a topic we're going to move away from,
Mm-hmm.
And I love with you constantly kind of go there. You're not afraid, and I love that. And that's good to learn. At 32, that's great to learn, because as you get older, you're just going to be more and more amazing.
Yeah.
I love Andre. See, they're right there. Most people would be like, well, I hope so. But you're like, yeah, I am. I fucking love that about you. And you are definitely going to come back, or I'm going to hunt you down.
Sounds good.
That'll be my documentary, Looking for Andre. Anyhow, thank you for coming in. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you very, very soon.